Hello everyone, I'm Brian, and welcome back. Let's just go ahead and get started.
No problem. It will not influence you. Please.
I was a student of this institute and I used to feel very happy that the education here was very questioning. So we questioned everything, all the belief system. So as a result, the students grow up very self-reliant and they know themselves well. But what happens is that they grow distant from their family because of the difference in the belief system now. So we may become very confident individuals, but what happens is we become alien to our parents and we don't fulfill the expectations of the parents. So what do you think? There is a role as a daughter or a son also to be fulfilled, and there is a role as an individual as well. So how do we crack that balance?
See, we must understand this. Inquiry, seeking, questioning does not mean you take on to another belief system. Leaving one belief system and going into another belief system is not a better place. It's just a new gang. Right now in the world, there are theists and atheists. Theists means those who believe there is God. Atheists means those who believe there is no God. But the problem is, both of them believe something that they don't know. One person believes positively, another person believes negatively, and one person thinks he is superior to the other. But the problem is the same with both the people. They are not sincere enough to admit, we really don't know. The reality is you don't really know, isn't it so? Hello? Do you know for sure? Hello? Do you know for sure how this creation was made? You don't know. But both are not sincere enough to admit. But one thinks they are very superior to the other. They think the theists are idiotic, they're going to the temple and doing ram ram. But the theists have compassion and pity for these people. They are not connected to our God, so they're lost. But the problem is, both of them neither have the courage nor the commitment to admit that I do not know and seek what is the truth about it. There is no courage and commitment to seek. That is why both of them are taking their own conclusions, but one thinks is better than the other. So being in an institution like this, especially design, if really design has to flow out of you, one important thing is there's no conclusion in your mind about anything, about anything. But it takes a lot of courage to live without conclusion. To simply live here without taking sides, without concluding this or that, to simply look at life in constant wonder, takes some courage. It's easy to belong to some gang or the other, and unfortunately, joining a new gang, people think new gang is better than the old gang. No, this will also become old in some time, just a little bit of time. You have to wait for 10 minutes, it'll be a old gang. So, do we have duties to our parents? It is not a duty. It is just that we must understand, we were not born like this. We were born helpless little babies. Somebody fed us, somebody washed our ass and, somebody did all those things for us when we could not do any of those things. Somebody made us stand up, somebody protected us, somebody nourished us. Out of this, out of gratitude, we do certain things. At the same time, we don't surrender what we wish to do with this life because it's a fresh life. This has to do something new. So there are civilized ways of doing these things, of breaking away from everything that your parents are and still maintaining. It's not a balance, there's no balance, it's an imbalance. When you want to do something very revolutionary, they're not going to agree with it. But the problem with most of the young people is, they will get angry that somebody is stopping them. No, they're not stopping you, they are telling you the best that they know. Yes or no? They're trying to do the best that they know. If you appreciate that, they're only trying to do the best that they know, it doesn't mean you have to give in to what's best that they know. As a new generation, you must do something new, otherwise what's the point of one more generation? We could have ended with ours. Yes, what is the point of a new generation if you don't do anything new? But They will get angry that you're breaking away. You don't have to get angry, you can still be loving, hug them and do what you have to do. Yes, because the relationship with the parent is not of intellectual evolution or revolution. It is of love and protection and care. That's a relationship. Please maintain that part of it and do whatever the hell you want.
Interesting, like a balance. I was kind of curious as to what is she struggling with. I mean, obviously it's your life. Your parents must respect to let you do what you want. At the same time, they must warn you of the things they've learned in life. That's what parents do. Parents should do, is warning their children, the dangers of life, so that their children becomes wiser, and the children doesn't have to learn the hard way, as I like to call it. And that way they can progress faster. Because if we have to start from square one every single generation, we won't progress very much further. Because imagine having to learn mathematics from step one and then becoming an adult, and then you have all these mathematical equations, but then when your child comes along, they have to start at square one and you don't teach them anything. So the more that you can pass down information, the better the next generation becomes. And it's the same thing with the fact of whatever parents learn in life. Don't do this, do that, don't do this. There should be more warnings than anything, and it's up to the child to determine whether they heed those warnings or not. It is their life. But balance. When Sadhguru said imbalance, it's like I was thinking in my head, it's a balance between your wishes and, wouldn't necessarily say your parents' wishes, but to some degree their wishes. If they want you to be a doctor, it's like, well, if you don't want to be a doctor, obviously, then you don't necessarily grant their wish. It's like, this is your life. You say, hey, look, you want me to be successful, I can grant that, and I will try to be successful at what I want to do. Successful doctor, well, would you say successful? That ultimately should be the parents' wishes, is their children to be successful. At what they want to be successful at should be up to the child's decision. Encourage them, teach them, let them be wise, give them a head start, make them learn the easy way, not the hard way. But at the same time, Sadhguru says, is a little bit of an imbalance. Yeah, more than likely, 60%. You're going to do 60% of what makes you happy, and 40% of what your parents make you happy. Success, 40%. Doctor, 60%. We'll do the success portion. And then I'll be successful at something else.
So empathy is a word that we use every day, and especially we as designers have placed it on a pedestal. So we want to know, what is your interpretation of empathy, and is it necessary for everyone to have it? And if so, then how can it be taught to someone?
Oh. Well, there's a lot of room for empathy in design, in creating things. But today, a whole lot of design that's happening in the country, a land which was steeped in aesthetic at one time, that people invested their entire life to just carve one stone column. That kind of culture, today our design and aesthetic needs more sympathy than empathy. Because if you walk in front of a home, all the 72 shades of Asian paints are used on a single home. It needs more sympathy than empathy. So, empathy essentially means that your life reverberates with another. This is not your idea. This is the way it's happening, isn't it? When, when we realized that Tamil Nadu had only 16.5% of green cover, and the national aspiration was 33%, and a very rich land which it was, some UN agencies came and predicted in 97 or 98 that by 2025, 60% of Tamil Nadu will become a desert. I don't like predictions, first of all, any kind, because predictions don't take into account… they take into account the cold facts that are there. but they don't take into account what's beating in a human heart and what are human aspirations.
I will say that's very much true, though. The thing all predictions can do in terms of scientific predictions is, if this pattern continues, this will be the end results. It's not taking into the fact that if people change their mind. I mean, it can. If they say, well, we can make the changes. If every single person plants one tree, then we can make a prediction that, coverage will be this, this, and this. It doesn't take into effect like wild things, like if someone decided to plant 2 trees instead of 1, that's a crazy thing, but it could increase the green coverage. Or if someone decides to go around and stump all the trees, and then the prediction for if everyone were to plant trees would be destroyed because someone destroyed all the other trees or whatever. Predictions or scientific predictions, I don't know what to call it. Anyways, but yeah, it's never meant to take into account the wild factor, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word. Just it only predicts like if people continue to do this way, then obviously the effects will have this effect on it.
So I drove around to see whether it's true. Then I found that it would happen much sooner than 2025. Then we made a simple plan. I made a simple barefoot plan. Okay, so many thousand square kilometers. If you plant 114 million trees in the next 8 to 10 years, in 15 to 20 years you will have 33% green cover. So I called a bunch of volunteers. And about 4,000–5,000 people sat there. I told them, see, we need to plant 114 million trees. Sadhguru, do you know 114 million means what, Sadhguru? How many zeros? Can we ever plant that many trees? I said, see, Tamil Nadu's population is 6.2 or 62 million people. If all of us plant 1 tree today, take care of it for 2 years and plant 1 more after 2 years, we got the number. So it's just that people have never thought how to compensate what we are using. Then they said, no, how can we get people to understand this, how will it happen? Then I did a simple thing, I said, call one meeting. We called a much larger meeting, 7,000–8,000 people or somewhere between 5,000 to 6,000 people. Morning, 11 o'clock meeting in Tamil Nadu. This is a place where there are some 5–6 huge rain trees which cover almost like 3 acres of land. These 5 trees cover literally almost 5 acres of land, full shade, beautiful. But we sat in hot sun at 11 o'clock. So I also sat there in hot sun and talking to them, just gossiping with them, telling them jokes. Slowly, initially they were laughing nice, but slowly,
I know where it's going with this, I think.
After 1 hour, if you're moving around, you won't feel the sun. When you sit there, slowly it gets you within an hour's time. They're looking like this, what's wrong with Sadhguru, why is he… Right here, so many trees, we can sit there. I went on, when I saw they could all faint, and I said, okay, let's go. And we walked and sat under the tree. Everybody, ecstasy. I said, you see the difference? You know what's a tree only when you roast it for some time in the sun. Then come under a tree, you realize it's like paradise, really, it feels like that. After a hard, sunny day, you come under a tree, you realize it's something else. People who are living in buildings won't understand this. If you're working outdoors, you know this very well.
Well, don't get me wrong, people live in buildings won't understand this because there's shade. Just, I guess, the fact that it's shade provided by a building as opposed to a tree. But don't get me wrong, where I was born, there's this wonderful tree that I absolutely love. We always play right around it. And there's a rock formation near it. It provides a very large cover. It was so beautiful. The next year I came back home, it was gone. I felt really bad because I really loved that tree. It was just such a big area to play around a tree. Oh man.
Then I said, I made them sit there and see. We set up a certain spiritual process. See, what you exhale, the trees are inhaling. What the trees exhale, you are inhaling. They all sat like this with tears in their eyes and some of them screaming, shouting, rolling. I said, this is it. All we have to do is, this is 1/2 of your lungs hanging out there. You don't fix it, this won't function. It became an experiential process. Now you can't stop them from planting trees. Tamil Nadu has got a culture of planting trees like crazy. Even in the weddings, everybody is giving saplings to each other. Well, they've planted some 33, 34 million trees till now. It's not 114, but at least the culture has changed. People have understood. Now, I think, how many schools? Some few thousand schools have become green schools. If they plant over 10,000 trees, we give them a certificate of a green school. A few thousand schools have become green schools now. The culture has changed. People are planting trees simply because they understood what I exhale, the tree inhales. Always this life has been reverberating with that, isn't it so? So empathy is not an idea, it's not a philosophy that you develop. If you pay attention to your life is reverberating with everything around you, isn't it? If it becomes an experiential process, we call it yoga. Yoga means union, that you actually experienced union with something beyond your body. This is called yoga. Consciously you obliterated the boundaries of your individuality. That means you're in yoga. Twisting and turning is not the yoga. Yoga means union happen. How will union happen? You have drawn a boundary of your individuality. If you consciously obliterate that in some way, then there is yoga. But whether you experience it or don't experience it, every moment what you exhale, trees are inhaling, what they exhale, you are inhaling, isn't it? So when you experience this, and I don't have to tell you don't cut the tree, it'll anyway happen, but now you're trying to bring it as an idea, as empathy. But it is fine, empathy is fine, but if it becomes a living reality, it'll be much better. Life will happen more naturally rather than trying to rub ideas on each other, because life is all-inclusive. It's not that you and me have to make up a philosophy to make it inclusive, it's anyway all-inclusive, isn't it? Nothing can live without anything else. Everything is happening as one big happening. Instead of being a part of this mega celebration of life that's happening on all levels, then you will see you won't need a party. If you simply sit, observe things, everything flares up within you, because everything is happening like that. Nothing is separated from anything in the universe, isn't it? And empathy, you're trying to bring it to the back door. It's like morality. When you have no humanity, you need morality. If your humanity is up and alive, you don't need any morality, you will do what is needed anyway.
Real quick with that, I was thinking along the lines of how I guess scientists has kind of put that in perspective, is the fact that we live in this earth in a type of harmony with everything else around us, and kind of like how if you, let's see, you look at certain parts of nature where there's a balance between predators and preys. If there's little preys and there's a lot of predators, well, the predators will either make all the preys extinct and then the predators will become extinct, or what more than likely the case will be is that the predators will start dying because there's not enough food, and then the preys will start coming up because either they're hiding or there's not a lot of predators. It's like preys, then when there's enough preys, predators. It's like a balance between going up and down. So whenever there's a lot of predators, there's little preys, but when there's little preys, predators die and starve. Then since there's little predators, preys come up. Then when there's more preys, predators get a good feeding. You know, it's like a balance. Same thing with, I guess, with essentially almost everything, but in a lot of sense, we as humans are kind of destroying that balance in terms of, you know, animals, trees, everything, you know, deforestation in the Amazon rainforest and all of that. So we have paper, but yeah, and then climate change with the, what is it, and they talked about the ozone layers, global warming, etc., etc. But this is, I guess, this is the scientific term. But I see what he's saying. It's kind of like that in my mind. How I see it in terms of scientifically speaking, of course. But yeah, I think it's a great idea to implement what he said about, half your lungs hanging on a tree, which is very much true. When people start visualizing like that, I think they'll start having a little bit of a different perspective, because I'm wondering if you if you ask people where does oxygen come from, they say, oh, it's from the air. It's like, kinda, but not really. It's coming from the trees, and of course, I think the plankton's in the ocean as well, but don't let them know that. Just the trees. Yeah, what happens when you run out of trees? You start breathing becomes difficult, and the rich is the only one that can live, pretty much.
Today, when we have a lot of opportunities available to us, the multitude of choices that we have almost paralyzes us, because we have a limited amount of time. How do we choose? How do we go about choosing what do we want to pursue?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. So taking this context into account, what he just described, I would want...
Wait, what? Hold on.
Amount of time. How do we choose? How do we go about choosing what do we want to pursue?
Okay, that was a weird cut. What? How do we go about choosing what do we want to pursue? What kind of question is that, dude? You got to find out what you want. No one can tell you that, Experiment with things. That's one way to discover what you want to do. You want to play cricket? You want to play soccer, football, should I say? You want to be an architect? You want to be, going out in space? Go experiment. That's how you discover what you like and what you don't like. But something happened with that video. I guess maybe it wasn't really a good question, because it is kind of no one can tell you that. Just experiment.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. So taking this context into account, what he just described, I would want to ask about how this context would be taken in terms of what spirit is. Elaborating spirit in terms of me as a body standing here right now and being able to converse these words to you, and then listening to these words, you then say what?
No, I didn't say I'm listening.
So, are you not listening?
Hey, you're misusing that question. His question is totally different.
Okay.
We'll come to you.
Okay, that's
We'll
weird.
answer that question.
Yeah.
But that question and this is… you're creating more confusion
So
for him.
after this question, maybe?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
Spirit. Thank you.
That's a good design. So, about making choices, probably you're talking about professional and other kinds of choices, right? Is that what you mean? See, there are different ways to look at this. Today, unfortunately, they were asking me, till now, whatever this number of universities you covered, did you get the kind of questions that you want? I didn't want any kind of questions in particular, but I wanted every kind of question that's possible. But what I'm seeing is, very few questions have come asking with concern for the larger world, for the humanity, for the life on this planet, for the nation, for things like that. Very few have come, very small percentage.
Very interesting. Most people are concerned about for themselves, obviously. I'm trying to think of all the questions. There were some in terms of the country, in particular India. I think the last one was, it was the schools of lawyers and stuff, talking about politics and stuff, which may not be the grander scale of the world, but you can only do so much as an individual. You have more control over your own country than other people's countries, so you can work with what you got and what you can control, and then just try to assist from there. Rest are all about personal. Yeah. I mean, because you have more control over yourself than you do other people, and then you have more control over your country than you do have other countries. So you can only ask questions of what you can change, and the others are kind of like, well, there's not much you can really do about it.
Rest are all about personal stuff. I'm not saying it's not important, but I'm surprised that young people are not thinking of larger situations in the nation and in the world. Having said that, see, there are two ways to approach your life. Either I want to do what I want to do, but you must understand what you want to do is just a thought that you generated, and it's not even yours, it's something that you pick up from around you. Well, there may be certain aptitude. Well, people were asking me, some news channel is asking me, Sadhguru, why don't you… are you standing for election this time, 2019, are you standing for election? I said, I have no such intention. Okay, next election at least are you standing? He said, no, but why? I said, that's not my competence. I don't think I'll make a good politician. If I thought, maybe I would have thought about it. So one is aptitude. Do you have a certain aptitude towards a certain action? So are you thinking in that direction? Or a whole lot of people today are deciding what to do depending upon what they will get out of it. What will I get? Will I get this kind of lifestyle? Will I get this kind of salary? Will I make this kind of money and lifestyle? This is what they're thinking of. This is a wrong way to approach, because you will have everything and you will have nothing in the end with life. The important thing is this. See, if you make yourself… first of all, you must do this, you must not be driven by your anxieties, your frustrations, your concerns. You must take… when this question becomes a serious question in your life, you must take off at least 3 to 10 days, let's say, depending upon who you are. Some people may need 3 days, somebody may need more time, let's say maximum 3 to 10 days range. And not to be influenced by your peers, so switch off the phone, not to be influenced by your professors, not to be influenced by your parents or the social pressures. Spend some time with yourself and see. I'm asking you a simple question. Are you a precious life? Your life, is it precious to you? Hello? If it's precious to you, what are you going to invest this precious life into? Is something that must concern you, isn't it? You must not do something because he's doing it, you must not do something because he's not doing it. This is not the way to decide things. You're investing your life, if this life is precious, you must see what is it that really matters to you. And you must do that. It doesn't matter, it pays, it doesn't pay, but believe me, if your heart is not in something, really, you will not do your best. Yes or no? If you don't do your best, how will great things happen to you? See, whether it is art, music, design, business, sport, spirituality, politics, it doesn't matter what it is. If you are not absolutely devoted to what you're doing, you will never do anything significant in your life, that's for 100%, I'm telling you. You may earn a living, but you will not do anything significant if you are not totally devoted to something. See, right now there are many examples, because they gave him a Bharat Ratna, I'm choosing him. Let's say Sachin Tendulkar. This man knows nothing except hitting a ball. He gets so devoted to hitting a ball, and he hits it like nobody. Now he is Bharat Ratna. Yes or no? It is just devotion. You must talk to him and see privately. He is like, you talk about the ball, he is so devoted to it, okay? It's his religion, it's his sacred stuff, it is everything to him, hitting that ball. His entire life he invests in one simple act, hitting a ball. Is it a big thing? But hitting a ball because of enormous devotion, just see what happens. Tremendous things happen, isn't it? So, the question is not about what you want to do. The question is just this: can you be devoted to this? Let's say you think in terms of today, if I invest my life, next 25 years, can I be devoted to what I'm doing right now? Will this matter to me? Will I feel fulfilled if I look back and see what I've done? Something. You do whatever the hell you want, just do it well, that's important. And don't do any damn thing that you will be ashamed of doing tomorrow, isn't it? What other people say doesn't matter, but you should not be ashamed of what you have done, isn't it so? Hello? This much you must keep, this much pride and freedom you must keep in your life. It doesn't matter, the whole world says you're wrong, but you are not ashamed of what you have done. That much you must always keep in your life. If that one thing, if you give up, I'm telling you, you'll live a very poor life. You may have everything, but you'll have nothing. I'm sorry? Yes. See, that is the next aspect. The question…
What do you think then? You can be devoted to anything? This one, I was gonna kinda… I'll put it here. So this is the thing, you can be devoted to anything. Now are you gonna be the best at it? You can be the best you can be at it, but relative to someone else, they may be better. So for example, me being a basketball player, I'm tall. I'm maybe average, maybe slightly above average in terms of height, but basketball players are like the 1% of tallness of people for dunking purposes, rebound purposes. Now, I'll probably never be a dunker or a driver or a rebounder on basketball. Maybe I'm pretty good at 3 points, but because of my height and other things, I may never become a dunker. Just because, again, I may not have the muscles or the height for dunking. The goal is pretty high. Even no matter how devoted I am to it, I have to be a little bit realistic with my expectations. But I could be the best I can be, but it might not be good enough. And that's what I hope people can realize too. I do 100% believe in Sadhguru and what it says. If there is something you genuinely want to do, devote yourself to it. Give it all you've got, but be realistic. If it's not good enough, you may want to find something else, because you don't want to continue to pursue something that you may not get anything out of, even if you love it a lot. You could do it as a hobby, absolutely. Don't get me wrong on that one, but you obviously have to make a living, so be mindful of that. That's all. You can be devoted to anything, absolutely. Be realistic with your expectation and what you're capable of. Give it 110%. Don't give up on it. But be realistic and understand that you do have to make a living, and you can always do what you love as a hobby. I remember one person when I lived in a different part of this country. He turned what he loved into a job, and he says, don't turn what you love into a job, it becomes a job. I'm like, oh no, are you kidding me? Why can't you make money off what you love? Why can't you do something and love it and make money off of it? To some degree, it can turn that way, so be mindful of that too. Just a fair warning that something that you love to do, if you turn it to a job, it might become a job. So I don't know. I know each job is going to be a little bit different. There could very well be a passion that you have that you turn to a job and you will still absolutely love it. But then it could be a passion that you love that you turn to a job, now it becomes something that you absolutely hate. What those things are, I do not know, but just be mindful of that.
Yes. See, that is the next aspect. The question is, will you do what you want to do, or will you do what is needed most right now in the world?
Ooh.
If you are joyful by your own nature, what I want to do is not important. What is needed right now, you will do that with absolute devotion. So, if you can be devoted to anything that you do, what does it matter? What does it matter? You will do what is most needed, isn't it? You must do what's most needed, actually. I think somewhere else I said, see, if you're a fool, you will do something that you don't like to do. If you're an intelligent person, you will do what you love. But But if you really want to be a genius in your life, you will do whatever is needed with absolute joy and involvement. It's no more about me, because you can do anything with total involvement, so what's the problem?
Real quick with that one, I think I heard a story about a person that lives in a particular part of, like, it's a very country town, and there's no sewers, so everything's like in the septic tank, and there's not very many people that, there's not a company that comes and does the septic tank, because once it gets full, it needs to be drained. But because no one's really doing that, he started this business to do that. He didn't like it, it's not nice, it doesn't smell great, but because he did it, he became rich, because he was the only company in that town to do that, so he can, in a sense, charge what he wants. And once he got enough money going, he could hire people to do it for him, and he just runs the business. So he doesn't have to handle the business end of it, he just handles the business, if you get what I'm saying. So, and there's the thing, if you're smart, you can do something you don't like, so long as you understand, but hopefully you don't ever have to do that, honestly. But if you're smart like that person, where he goes, brings a truck and sucks up all the poo and pee from a septic tank, because it has to get emptied, and then, you know, charge people for that, you can eventually make enough money to the point where you hire people to do that for you, and you just handle the business end of things. Also,
I'm sorry?
According to you, the most needed.
Right now, designer. There are two ways of looking at design. When we say design, we may be thinking of designing a building or clothing or something else, material stuff.
Or internal
design. But the most important thing is, your life must be designed right. You must be a designer life. Yes? Designer life means, or designer anything means, it's just the way you want it. Your life must be a designer life, isn't it? It must happen the way you want it. It doesn't matter whether they approve it or not, it must happen the way you want it. This can happen only within you, because outside world is not completely mine or yours. Little will happen my way, little will happen your way. This is the way it is. But what's within me must happen my way, isn't it? This is a designer life, because I design my thought, I design my emotion, I design my experience, I design my chemistry every day, how it should be. So, you must have a designer life.
Thank you so much, Sadhguru. I'm sure… one minute. We will be having an informal session. I'm sure there are many unanswered questions over here, so don't worry about it. And thank you so much, Sadhguru. I'm sure Date with you have triggered many minds over here. I would request the director to say few words.
So on behalf of NID community, I would like to thank Sadhguru for spending time with our community, and we really feel honored. And today's discussion certainly is opening up a lot of… is going to allow us to think differently and see that how we can take these discussions to the next level.
I would like to take this opportunity to say this, that, see, in this country of 1.3 billion people, most youth of your age, the kind of conditions they educate themselves, the kind of conditions they live in, and the kind of conditions they end up in for a lifetime is not really great. Well, we're trying to change that, but still not too close. So all of you who are in a premier institution, it's very, very important that you value this and make use of this time here, because what I'm seeing is there is a rush to live. Don't live too early. This is a time to build yourself up. If you don't enhance the life that you are early on, you will see you will live a small life. It's very important that you are an enhanced life before you step out of your education. Enhanced in every way, in thought, emotion, spirit. Where's the spirit girl? In thought, emotion, energy, in every way you must be an enhanced life That is when you step out, you have a full scope of life. If you go there in a small way, you will end up with a small aspect of life. So please make use of this time to enhance the life that you are. Not just skills, not just education, but the life that you are must rise to a different level of competence within yourself. This is important because not many people have this opportunity in this country to study in premier institutions. So, I hope for the next generation you will create a more aesthetically sensible India. Thank you very much for having me here.
Very inspirational speech always at the end there, Sadhguru, on all his so far youth and truth talks. So video worth now, me talking with whatever I can. I mean, whenever he said that is very much true, even some parts of my country, or most to some parts of my country, it's kind of the same thing, you know. It's okay. So I don't know if the person that asked this question is going to see this video or not, but the question that was asked was, why do you always say my birth country and not the country that you're from? It's because there are, and a few of the comments that I've read have always said to me that you're a white person. How would you know about this? And this is the reason why I don't say it, is because if a person wants to use my what I look like to combat me, then I can use what I actually am to combat them. If you're using what my skin color looks like, or what I look like as a argument, then I will destroy you because you are already wrong. Now, if you want to use, you can make some assumptions like, well, I assume that maybe you've grown up in a very good family, so you perhaps don't know what it's like to live with poor. And I could say, well, you're wrong. Actually, I did not grow up in a rich family. I didn't grow up in America, and I did grow up, in fact, I say poor, but relative to people around my country, my birth country, I wouldn't say necessarily rich either. Just doing pretty good. But relative to America, it's very poor, quite poor. I mean, it's poor for the most part. Because I never thought about those things whenever. Obviously, where you grow up, and then you start thinking in the past, like, did I grow up poor? You weren't really thinking about those things. You were just a child trying to learn, trying to pass school and have fun. As I think back of it, it's relatively poor, you know. Shoes were very fancy. You know, if you had shoes, you were kind of, I wouldn't say rich, but, you know, it's like, why are you doing with expensive shoes going out, walking out in the streets? Anyways, but yeah, the reason why I don't say it's because there's no reason for it. I can explain to you that I wasn't born in America. Let's put it that way. I was born in a relatively poor country. I grew up there. But yeah, that's about it for that one. I don't know what else to answer that. Will I ever answer where I was born? Perhaps, maybe. When the time is right. Well, actually, I don't know when that time will be, but perhaps, maybe. It's the best answer I can give on that one. But yeah, because I hate to say this, but you know, in America, race and color, well, race is used as a weapon, and you know, and there's this victimhood mentality. And it's no matter how many victimhood points you can gather, and it's like, I'm more victim than you, so therefore I have more privilege. It's like really weird. I have better arguments or something like that, which has nothing to do with anything. But anyway, you know, you could be a white, cis white male, as they say, and even if you're broke, poor, and your entire family's been poor, and you're homeless, you're still the most privileged person in the country than, say, a black, Asian, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, Antarctican, you know, rich person living in a mansion, making 6 figures every hour. That white poor person that's homeless and starving to death has more privilege than you. You know, it's like, where's the logic in that? You're dumb for thinking that. And this is another thing. Man, this is really going into my life history of coming to America and how I was kind of brainwashed in a lot of sense. Perhaps that's a video dedicated all to itself. So if anyone stayed even this long after I said the video is over with, leave in the comments below if you want to know. There's no guarantee that the video will be out, but at least this lets me know there's people out there still listening, me talking about nonsense after the video. About if you want a video specifically about perhaps my experience coming to America. Well, not coming to America, but my experience since I came to America up to a certain point before I became quote-unquote red pill to some degree. It's more along the lines of certain realizations that I've had that I didn't realize until I started watching some red pill videos, and then I started understanding a few things. So anyways, let me know down in the comments specifically below if you genuinely want that. Not guarantee you. I'm not making any promises, because I try not to break any promises. But at least it'll let me know. Anyways, that's it for this video. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.